Cleveland was able to close to within 6 late in the game. Al Horford scored 8 straight points, including a flagrant foul and subsequent free throws by, or foul on J.R. Smith, free throws by Horford. Defense was there most of the game. Defensive effort for Cleveland up and down in this game. What'd you come away with here?
Well, this Boston team is very mentally tough. Cleveland came out. They were focused. LeBron, we saw him very aggressive, had an excellent first half, 25 points in the first half, 21 in the first quarter. And this team never wavered. They never blinked. They were like, okay, we took their best shot. They came out in the third quarter. They were all about business. They grit, they grind. Defensively, they got back in it. They were able to hit some shots. Jaylen Brown had a great game, and they were able to stay in the game. Marcus Smart, to me, the unsung hero. The stats will never look flashy. He's not that type of player, but he makes winning plays. He can play. If I was a coach, he'd be able to play for me any day of the week. He's just a pit bull out there, and he basically symbolizes what this team is all about.
He did have the best plus-minus of anybody on the floor tonight, plus 21 in his time out there.
Well, he just, again, he's the embodiment of their grit and toughness. He really is sort of their spiritual center as a team. And if Al is the center in terms of keeping his composure, Marcus very much is in terms of the multiple effort plays. You see him here diving on the ball, flying into the stands. He's always in and around the ball.
Yeah.
He's just a winning basketball player. You can tell me all the things he cannot do, but like Matthew Dellavedova, who you played with, he's going to do everything that would be reflected in, I want this more than you do.
Yeah, that's what Marcus Smart's all about. Marcus Smart, he's not going to wire you with his shooting ability. Might not be the fastest, might not be the quickest. But at the end of the day, when you put on film, you watch tape, you see a guy that competed, gave it his all, dove on the floor, and just made game-winning play after game-winning play.
Defensive heart and soul. Also had 9 assists in this game to go with his 11 points. You mentioned LeBron, much more aggressive, certainly in the first quarter when he had those 21 points. 42-point triple-double, 10 points, 12 assists. It's the 22nd postseason triple-double of his career, 24th 40-point game of his career, and yet not nearly enough for the Cavaliers down the stretch.
Well, I was really concerned, and if you're the Cavaliers, what's going to bother you? And they talked about it a little bit on the broadcast as well, but at every point of contact, they were out-toughed and out-hustled.
Yeah.
After LeBron took the shot that he did, the shoulder to the chin, I really didn't feel like he looked right on the defensive end. He was very slow to react. That whole Cavaliers team up until that point, and Brendan, we talked about this in the back, they'd been a multiple effort team defensively. They were helping, recovering. They were there for each other. And at some point, they just completely lost that. Yeah. And I think Brad's adjustments coming out of halftime were probably a big part of that. But I think more than anything else, it was just the constancy of Boston's effort and their focus.
It's dangerous to try to read a player's demeanor, but you know LeBron obviously really well, and you played with LeBron James. Just as an observer and someone who's watched him play for a long time, he looked like a different guy in the second half, even when he was productive out there.
Yeah, in the second half, it looked like he just was in a fog. And so I'm not sure if it was a concussion. I'm not sure if it was a strained neck. But LeBron didn't have the same type of look on his face, the same type of reaction that we're used to seeing from him. He just looked dazed. He looked like glossy-eyed. I don't know what. It looked like a fighter that was kind of punch drunk a little bit to a certain degree. And he was still pretty damn good in the second half. I mean, he still made a lot of, he still made plays, but he just didn't look the same way he looked in the first half, and he just looked a little bit lethargic. I'm not sure what that hit did to him as far as injury-wise. He won't use that as an excuse, but he did look different in the second half. But to your point, Griff, in the second half, the effort plays went there. In the first half, it was multiple efforts. Guys were running people off the three-point line, and then there was a rotation after that. In the second half, there was a play at the end of the third quarter that basically summed up the Cavs in this game for me. The ball swung around. Terry Rozier's in the corner. LeBron James and Kevin Love are both standing there. Neither one of them fired. I'm not sure who it was supposed to be.
Right.
Neither guy fired out to the corner. That's what game-winning plays are all about. People think game-winning plays are dunks and step-back threes. No, game-winning plays are being committed to the scouting report, working through mistakes on defense, busting it in your rotations. In the second half, the Cavs didn't do that.
There were too many times in the second half that you saw the Cavs have sins of omission. And Boston's very much only going to have sins of commission. They are flying all over the place, and that's what they're going to do, and it's who they are. And that plays a great example, but there were multiple situations in the second half where Cleveland just didn't have everybody on the same page. Really bothered by the fact that J.R. Smith gives the two-hand shove to Horford when he does.
Yeah, that was dirty.
It was dirty, but it was also one of those lazy plays. If you'd have been really fired up and really a tough player at that particular moment in the game, you're where you need to be to actually impact the play rather than chasing from behind. And I thought that was very representative of where they were throughout the second half.
I'm surprised that wasn't a flagrant 2. It was called a flagrant 1 on the floor. But we were talking watching this game in the second quarter that there was a better effort there defensively from the Cavaliers, second efforts, and then it just disappeared in the second half for the most part. And I wonder how much of that, effort's one thing, but the execution is another. When you have a team that really hasn't had any sort of continuity over the course of the season, these good defensive habits are tough to establish when the players on the floor have played so little time together collectively.
Yeah, that's why playing Tristan Thompson was so important, because they have trust together. There's a nucleus there that has played enough together that they have enough trust that they know they're going to be where they're supposed to be. I think in the second half you saw a complete lack of trust in almost everything that was happening. And in part, quite frankly, it was because LeBron himself was slow to recognize defensively, slow to rotate. I think it was the look he had in his face when he took the shot. When you saw him be glazed like that, I can honestly say I never saw that before during the time that I was there. And I felt like in the second half, Bron was able to be first chair violin, but he wasn't able to be the conductor.
Right.
And that team needs a conductor. They need somebody to put them all in place to be successful, and they didn't have that. So with the exception of Kevin Love, there was really nobody who knew how they were going to eat on the offensive end. And when you compound that with we don't trust each other on the defensive end and you're not playing hard enough, it's a long night.
Let's talk about rotations a little bit here, because I'm sure Ty Lue will get some questions about these. Jeff Green played nearly 28 minutes in this game. He was a minus 17 out there. Kyle Korver, who was good in the first half, didn't play a lot in the second half when they certainly could have used him in terms of spacing the floor. Clearly, there's no trust in Jordan Clarkson. He didn't play at all in this game.
Well, that's surprising.
Rodney Hood, 11 minutes, was ineffective when he was out there. What can Ty Lue do as this series moves forward? How can he change things up?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure what he can. He's been trying to change things up all the time. Every game, it's been something different. So he will make a change, because that's what they're forced to do, because this team, like you said, Grip, doesn't have continuity. This isn't a team that's been together for years and they constantly believe in each other. And next man up mentality. Boston, they have that next man up mentality. Well, guess who doesn't? The Cleveland Cavaliers. They're searching. They're looking for people. They're trying to figure it out. Sometimes it's Jeff Green that can help them. Sometimes it's Jordan Clarkson. Tonight, Clarkson didn't play. Jeff Green didn't have his best stuff. And the thing that we're really looking at, forget the rotations. The Cleveland Cavaliers backcourt combined for 3 points. 0 for 7 from J.R. Smith, 1 for 4 for George Hill. That's just not good. That's just not good enough in the play.